Today, we're taking a closer look at Spenco Second Skin Squares. To be honest, I've never had a lot of time for this product, but at the same time, I can't help but be impressed by it. If you haven't held these Second Skin Squares in your hand before, they have a really distinctive texture. It's a gooey, sticky jelly material that's soft and really cool to the touch. It's actually 95% water. I can see that this product has the ability to reduce pressure by way of its cushioning, and even more impressive than that is it can absorb shear beautifully. Just look at it go. Both cushioning and shear absorption are fantastic properties for blister prevention. Before I get into the pros and cons of Spenco Second Skin Squares, I just want to point out that this is exactly the same product as Spenco Second Skin Circles and Rectangles that also come in tubs, the moist pads that come in the Spenco Second Skin Blister Kit, and their moist burn pads. Collectively, Spenco refers to these as their hydrogels. Same material, just different shapes and sizes and packaging. They all have the same look and feel, same ingredients and same properties. So what don't I like about Spenco Second Skin Hydrogels when it comes to blister management? Well, there are 5 things that bother me. Firstly, holding water against the skin is the opposite of what you want to do in blister prevention. More moisture means higher friction levels, which can mean either more blisters or worse still, maceration. Secondly, cooling the skin might be good for treating burns, but it's of limited use for preventing or treating friction blisters. Remember, friction blisters on the feet are not a burn injury. We know you can get blisters in very cold conditions. It's not about temperature, it's about repetitive shear distortions within the skin. Besides, it might feel cool initially, but it soon warms up to the same temperature as your foot. You don't just lay this on your skin and leave it there. You have to put tape over it so it stays in place. So it's bound to your skin and insulated by the tape. And this ensures any cooling effect is very short-lived. Thirdly, the jelly wears through if there's a lot of pressure and movement applied to it. That's not so good when you're dealing with blisters on weight-bearing areas of your foot, like under the ball of the foot. I put it under my first MPJ and jogged on the spot, and there was no gel left where I needed it most when I checked after 10 minutes. The gel had worn through. When you look closely at the product, it's not that difficult to replicate this. You can move that gel away with moderate effort to reveal the plastic mesh underneath. On my other foot, I used a large rectangle pad right across the ball of my foot and started to do some star jumps. This was awkward to say the least because given the gel was too much. The shear modulus was too low for this part of my foot for this kind of activity. Why? Because your foot relies on traction to perform star jumps, just like it does for walking and running and changing direction with any efficiency. The problem is this hydrogel worked too well. It absorbs so much shear that it degrades your efficiencies of gait, including braking and acceleration forces. So I couldn't continue with the star jumps or I would have sprained my ankle or tweaked my inner thigh muscles or something. So I just jogged on the spot for 10 minutes, and when I took my shoe and sock off, at least half of the gel had escaped the confines of the surrounding tape that was designed to hold the hydrogel in place. And of course that rendered the hydrogel useless because it was no longer where I needed it. Fourth, they dry out, and as they do, they lose their favourable properties from the gooey jelly thickness. When they dry right out, they just look and feel like a rough, thin plastic sheet. At this point, they are more of an irritant than anything else. Now, the instructions say to remove the blue backing, put it on your skin, and then tape over it. And I agree, this is the best way to go. That clear plastic film between the gel and the tape means there's less water absorption by the tape and less evaporation of water through the tape. So it will last longer than if you just take the plastic off both sides and put it on. However, in the tub of squares, while they all have the blue plastic on one side, they don't all have the clear plastic on the other side. I don't know if that means that you leave the blue plastic on instead and put the sticky side to your skin, effectively putting it on upside down. I'm not sure if that makes a difference functionally. I just know that if you don't have any plastic between the gel and your tape, it dries out real quick. Finally, they're not sterile, and it's impossible to handle them in a sterile way. So that automatically means they're no good for torn and de-roofed blisters. You can only use them on blisters with an intact roof or as a blister prevention strategy. So I love how the material undergoes shear. Just look at it, takes up all that back and forth movement. This is blister prevention gold. This is what I absolutely love. It's such a great way to prevent blisters. However, on weight-bearing areas, it works too well initially, and then the hydrogel wears through too quickly to become ineffective. So I would say these are suited mostly to blisters on non-weight-bearing areas of the foot and areas of low pressure. And unfortunately, this very short-term effect takes them out of the equation for anyone involved in endurance activities, anyone looking for blister management that lasts all day. What I wouldn't do is use this as any kind of blister treatment on friction blisters of the feet. It's not sterile, so you risk introducing infection to an open blister. I wouldn't even use it on a blister with an intact roof. I'd be afraid I'd be macerating already weakened skin due to the high water content. I would only use this product to prevent blisters, either at the hotspot stage or before it even got to a hotspot, just on my known blister susceptible areas, as long as they're not on weight-bearing areas of my feet where I need traction. So, take into account the pros and cons I've mentioned, but do your own research and experimentation. And finally, if you really want to know the best way to prevent and treat your blisters, head to the blister prevention website and search for your blister location. Different things work for different anatomical locations because they're all structured differently, they function differently, and they have different kinds of forces at play. This is how to be most successful at blister management, tackling each blister based on its anatomical location, not just grabbing one thing and applying that to every single blister situation you face. So I hope this helps in your quest to be blister-free, no matter what your sport, activity, or adventure that you have planned.